Hello everyone, welcome into Fatty's Feast, where we make the best food you'll ever eat without leaving your backyard. My name is Josh, and today we are going to be discussing my experience eating some barbecue that was completely out of this world at Interstellar BBQ. You see what I did there? Interstellar, out of this world. I'm a nerd. But yes, we're going to be talking all things Interstellar BBQ. This was actually the fourth and final location that my friend John and I visited on our Austin barbecue tour. And if you haven't been paying attention, I've done videos on all of the places we visited, including Franklin's, Snow's, and Leroy and Lewis. If you haven't checked those videos out, I'll leave links in the description for those. So today we're going to close out the series by talking all things Interstellar. And funny enough, this place almost didn't make our list of places to visit. It was between here and La Barbecue. But I'm telling you right now, I am so glad we picked Interstellar, and you're gonna find out why in a second. And if you've seen any of the other videos, we're following the same roadmap, but just in case, we're gonna talk a little bit about Interstellar. We'll talk about when to get there or when to go. We'll talk about the waiting experience, our ordering experience, the food, the pits, and lastly, we'll close out with my final thoughts. Okay, so first off, about Interstellar. Their location is 12233 Ranch Road, 620 North, Suite 105. In Austin, Texas. Yeah, say that 20 times fast. Now, this is nowhere close to downtown. This is like a 25-30 minute drive north. So if you're staying downtown, you're definitely going to need to Uber or rent a car. They're open Wednesday through Sunday, 11 to whenever they run out, usually about 3 or 4. Now, the weirdest thing that might stand out to you right off the bat is, yes, this place is located in a strip mall. And yes, the pits are located in the middle of the parking lot. Kind of funky, but there's a reason behind that. So Interstellar was founded by John Bates in the year 2019. John has over 30 years experience in the restaurant business, and the reason that this location exists is because previously, John worked for the Noble sandwich shop that occupied Interstellar's current location. When Noble closed its doors in 2018, he decided to take that location and turn it into something new and out of this world. A barbecue joint. And that, I think, is literally their motto, to make barbecue out of this world. Their business model is basically focusing on simplicity, using high quality ingredients, taking the time to cook things low and slow, using clean smoke, and finally prioritizing quality over quantity. They stick to the old school barbecue roots, but change one thing about each recipe that they do. And when we talk about the food review, you'll see what I mean. Now, they haven't been open for that long to rack up the awards like the other places we've talked about, but they currently hold the number 2 spot on the coveted Texas Monthly Barbecue list. So as you can imagine, they got popular pretty damn quick. Now let's talk about when to get there. Now, because they're popular, there is going to be a line. If you don't want to stand in said line, you can order takeout. However, the minimum order is 4 pounds, and you typically have to do it 72 hours in advance. So if your decision to go to Interstellar was a last-minute thing, you're gonna have to stand in line. So to be honest, we kind of screwed up. We got there at 11:45 on a Sunday, and there were about 75 to 100 people in line in front of us. Now, the reason we didn't get there earlier was because I initially looked at the reviews, and most people commenting on the line said that it's not that bad, no matter what time you go. But I failed to realize some of those reviews were a little bit older, and this was from before they made the Texas Monthly list. So if you actually dig deep, you're gonna find reviews that say, probably should get there a little bit earlier. And they also give a warning on their website that says they do have long lines. If you're looking to go and want to ensure you can get everything on the menu, I would say get there the earliest 8, latest 9. That'll give you a 2-hour waiting period before they open, and you should be towards the front of the line, if not the first person. As far as parking goes, you don't have to worry about that. It's a strip mall, there's plenty of parking. You know, just don't hit the giant pits that are in the middle of the parking lot. Okay, so next, the waiting experience. This was without a doubt the worst waiting experience out of all the places we visited. As I said, we screwed up, we didn't get there at the right time, but there were plenty of people coming in behind us as well. But as far as the experience goes, the first obvious thing was there was nowhere to sit. They didn't have chairs like some of the other places, which isn't a big deal, but even if you brought a chair, it really wouldn't make sense to set it up because they're located in that strip mall and you'd possibly be blocking businesses or people walking down the pathway. So it'd just be more of a hassle than a convenience. The next thing is you definitely want to go in nice weather because there is some covered depending on where you're standing, but there's other parts of the pathway and where the line went that were completely open, and if it were crappy weather, if it were hot, if it were raining, you'd be just miserable. And like I said, it's kind of awkward because you're standing in line and you're blocking other entrances to businesses and you got to move out of people's way. It's just very weird. Also, from what I saw, there was nowhere close to go get a drink or get some food while you're waiting. Now, I didn't necessarily go exploring or anything to find a place, but the closest I saw was across the street, meaning across the divided triple lane highway that you'd have to cross. It's just a pain. Now, you can BYOB, bring your own beer while you wait or for when you eat. That's extremely important because they don't serve alcohol at Interstellar. Now, another weird thing, in one of the reviews, I saw that they provide free beer to those waiting in line. I didn't see any coolers or any signs indicating such. There were a few cool things once we got a little bit closer to the door. First of all, these stickers. I noticed there was a Hoodoo Brown sticker, shout out Connecticut Barbecue. They'll also have butcher paper on the windows listing their specials and what they're sold out of. By the time we got up there, they were sold out of their pulled lamb. That's kind of interesting too because they don't do pulled pork, just pulled lamb. And I'm not the biggest lamb fan, so I wasn't upset. They also had this cool Santa Maria grill, which kind of made me jealous and I wanted to steal it. The last thing I'll say about the waiting experience is I wished that someone from the restaurant would come out, talk to you, kind of tell you a little bit about the place, maybe tell you the specials, what they're sold out of, what they have left. There really wasn't any of that interaction. I don't know if that's typical or it was just the day, who knows. Okay, next, the ordering experience. As you can see, once you get inside the restaurant, there's a pretty good amount of seating inside. There's also quite a few picnic tables outside. We were served around 1:30, 1:45, so we waited about 2 hours. As I said, they were out of the pulled lamb, oh well, but you can see the menu right above where you order, and here you order by the half pound. They don't have plates or anything like that. Once we got up there and actually ordered, they did apologize to us right off the bat, saying they were short-staffed today and they were running a little slower than normal. Not that we were complaining, they just decided to tell us that. But just like every other place, they took their time, they asked us about us, where we're from, what brought us to Interstellar, and just like everywhere else, they were very generous. If they had something that looked a little ugly, they'd throw it on the plate for free. They gave us some free burnt ends, which was awesome. I think they added a little bit extra of everything, honestly. And as always, a little bit of brisket porn for you. I nerded out completely and loved watching the cuts. Okay, the part y'all have been waiting for, the food. I really shouldn't have to say this again, but my disclaimer, I'm not saying I can cook better than the folks at Interstellar. They did an amazing job. These are just my thoughts and opinions. Don't comment something stupid saying, oh, you're being too critical or you think you can do better. There's been a few guys, even though I say it every time. That being said, check out this plate. Now, even though we were hungry, we were a little conservative here. We got, I think, a half or 3/4 of a pound of brisket, 3 pork ribs, 5 pork belly burnt ends, 1 cheddar jalapeno sausage, a small potato salad, small beans, and a massive mac and cheese. I saw someone else get the mac and cheese and immediately I was like, I need a giant vat of that to bathe in. And as I said, they threw in some free brisket burnt ends. All in all, this came to a total of $87, and this was actually the most expensive barbecue out of all the stuff we bought. Now, it wasn't out of this world expensive. Get it? But each item was $2 to $3 more per pound than every other place. So first, the brisket burnt ends. They were free, so obviously they were great. But honestly, these were a 10 out of 5. Absolutely amazing, melt in your mouth. Loved every minute of eating these little succulent morsels. And next, the brisket. We were given all point, and this was a 5 out of 5. The brisket had perfect bend to it. There was a perfectly seasoned, crunchy bark. From what I could taste, there was the perfect amount of smoke flavor, and the seasoning was fairly simple. It was obvious that they used garlic in this. I could taste that, but I think it worked very well. There was a little bit of that chocolatey flavor from the fat rendering that I mentioned I experienced at Franklin's. And here's a hot take. I actually think this had the best flavor out of all the briskets we tried. Yeah, I'm talking about better flavor than Aaron Franklin's brisket. The one downside I will say is this point was a little bit fatty. And when I say fatty, I mean unrendered fat. So I feel like they could have left the brisket on the smoker a little bit longer to render that down. If they had done that, I would say it was the best brisket I've ever had in my life. And this is just me being extremely nitpicky because all around it's up there. Like, it would have been better than Franklin's if that was rendered a little bit more. Next, the pork ribs. These were also a 5 out of 5. These were St. Louis style ribs. The bark was perfect. There was somewhat a tacky texture on the exterior. They had the perfect fall off the bone with a little bit of effort bite. And like I've said before, pork ribs are not my favorite barbecue meat, but I could have literally eaten an entire rack of these by myself. I don't know what they season these ribs with or what kind of sauce they use on them, but there was a flavor that I have never experienced before, and I really don't know how to describe it. It was a little bit spicy and maybe a little bit sweet. It was very unique. I don't know what it was. So it's my life mission now to figure out what they were using in their rub or what they're mopping the ribs with, because it was that good. Next, the jalapeno cheddar sausage. I'm not even lying. I'm gonna get a little close here. This was so freaking good. Like, probably the best sausage I've ever had in my life, period. It was a 69 out of 5. I was so pissed that we were conservative and only got one sausage link. It had the perfect snap to it. It was busting all over the place with cheddar and jalapeno. It was oozing out all over the place and in my mouth, and oh my God, this is getting weird, sorry. But literally, in my opinion, the perfect amount of sausage to cheese to jalapeno ratio. There's a place here in Nashville called Shotgun Willie's that previously, that was the best sausage I had ever had, but this one definitely has dethroned them. So one unique thing they did was pork belly burnt ends. Now, I love me some pork belly burnt ends, but I can only have a few of them. They're just so fatty and so rich. And this is the one thing we got too many of, and I think they threw in like 2 for free. I would rate these a 4 out of 5. They were cooked very, very well. Like, this fat render just busted out. It took no effort to eat these. They melted in your mouth. But the thing I didn't necessarily care for were these were peach tea glazed pork belly burnt ends. That peach tea glaze was very, very sweet, and I just think that sweetness overtook any other flavor that was present, whether that was smoke or salt and pepper. It was just a little too much for me. But if you like sweet, you will love them. Me with the diabetes, not my thing. Next, let's talk about the sides, starting with the beans. Now, the cool thing is the beans are free. So they'll give you as many beans as they want. They basically make these beans with all of the cuts of meat that they didn't use in the barbecue. I thought the beans were pretty good. They were a 4 out of 5. There was a little bit of a kick to them, had some good chunks of meat, but honestly, they kind of tasted like Bush's baked beans, just a little bit better. Next, the potato salad. This was amazing potato salad, 5 out of 5. This was a mayo-based potato salad with huge chunks of potato, which I loved. Even though the potato chunks were huge, they were cooked absolutely perfectly, and there was a lot of green, a lot of color in this, a lot of celery, a lot of other herbs. So I really enjoyed that. Next, the mac and cheese. Now, I hadn't had mac and cheese this entire trip because no other place had it, and I saw someone walking out of the store with a huge container of this mac and cheese, and immediately I was like, I'm getting that exact size, and I'm gonna hate myself afterwards. It was so good. If you're a mac and cheese fan, this will probably be one of the best mac and cheeses you've ever eaten in your life. This was out of this world, 10 out of 5. They used shells, which I'm a huge fan of that because it captures all the cheesy goodness, and the cheese they used was smoked Gouda, one of my favorites. And they topped it with breadcrumbs that were, oh, I love thinking about this. I want some right now. Just trust me, get the mac and cheese. Get more than you think you'll need because you will eat it all. Next, the sauces. As always, you don't need sauce, but they do offer 2 different sauces for you. They have their original sauce and a mustard-based sauce. The original sauce, I'd say, was a 4 out of 5. All around good flavor, more of a tomato base that was obvious. A little bit of a kick to it, not too bad. The mustard, however, was a 2 out of 5. Now, I love me a good mustard sauce, but this was a very overpowering mustard sauce. All you could taste was mustard. If you put it on a piece of meat, that's all you could taste was just the sauce. So that immediately hid anything else that was going on with that piece of meat. The sauce itself was good. It was just very strong, which was unfortunate. But if you like mustard, you'll like this sauce. And the last point I'll make is they did provide pickles and onions. Those were not self-serve, but they give you those. Okay, next, let's talk a little bit about the pits in the middle of the parking lot. Now, they have a total of 4 pits. The first one is a 500-gallon, which takes up a parking space right in front of the place. They were actually using that pit when we left. They were smoking something extremely low, like it was 180 degrees or something. Maybe it was some Gouda, I'm not really sure. I didn't get a good look. The other 3 pits are 1,000-gallon pits located under a tree in a little island in the middle of the parking lot. They also have carts of their post oak wood. I'm not sure if they have more stored behind the building or something like that, or they cart it out, or what exactly they do. Now, there was no one manning the pits to talk to because it was Sunday and they weren't smoking anything for the next day, but you were able to walk around, check them out. The one thing that I was kind of curious about is only one of these pits had cover. So I can only imagine how terrible it must be if the weather turns to shit, or it's the middle of the summer and 800 degrees and you have nowhere to go for shelter while running these pits. My assumption is this is a temporary setup because they've been so popular, they had to get more pits and they had nowhere to put them. And I'm thinking in the near future, they'll start a brick and mortar location where they could have an appropriate place to put their pits. But standing outside in the Texas heat and storms manning these pits is a true testament to the commitment of the folks at Interstellar. The other thing that impressed me is just the size of the stacks on these 1,000-gallon pits. Really cool to see, especially when you don't have one yourself. Okay, so closing up, I'll leave you with my final thoughts. If you're gonna go to Interstellar, you definitely wanna go on a weekday, and definitely get there latest 9 o'clock if you can handle a 2-hour wait and want to ensure you can get all of the food. Keep in mind, it's not close to downtown. You're gonna have to drive 30 minutes, so take that into account if you're thinking about traffic. This is not a place you want to miss if you're going on an Austin barbecue tour. I truly believe this is one of the best barbecue joints in the country right now. The quality of the food and the commitment to making delicious low and slow barbecue is obvious once you take your first bite. I would not be surprised if when the next Texas monthly list comes out, these guys take the top spot. I mean, they're number 2 right now, so they're not far off. And just keep in mind, this place is going to become more and more popular, so if you haven't visited it, you definitely want to check it out soon before it's another Franklin's. Not that growth is a bad thing, obviously, but just something to be aware of. And as they continue to grow, they'll continue to improve, hopefully getting their own standalone brick and mortar location that's a little bit more appropriate for the massive crowds they pull. But as I said, don't miss out on getting some out of this world barbecue. So folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Fatty's Feast and the conclusion of our Tour de Austin barbecue video series. Let me know in the comments your thoughts if you've been to Interstellar, or tell me about some other places that we didn't try. I'm hoping to go back to Texas soon to check out some other spots, so let me know your faves. Be sure to like if you found value in today's content, and if you want to see more of me, you can check out these videos that I'm putting off to the side, and right in the center, you can subscribe if you love seeing my smiling, diabetic, fat, bearded, bald face. And until next time, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay hungry.